Call this meeting to order. In accordance to the open meetings law, the Lake Hopatcong Commission has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof delivered or mailed or electronically mailed to the following: the Daily Record, and posted on the Lake Hopatcong Commission website. Stand and join me to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's call the roll, please.
Commissioner Crowley?
Here.
Senator? Hopatcong?
Here.
McCarthy?
Here.
Wazowski? Cobb? Steinbaum? Stevens?
Here.
Tessier?
Here.
Will Susan?
Here.
Alternate Pranic? Here. Gilfillan? Hirschfeld?
Here.
Solaro?
Here.
And Chair Smith?
Yeah. Got a motion for the approval of the minutes?
Motion. Second.
Any comments, questions? Roll, please.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
So just a reminder that if you weren't at the last meeting, you have to
Abstain.
Hopatcong?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Tessier?
Right. Do I have to abstain?
Yeah.
Yeah, abstain.
Will Susan?
Yes.
Pranic? Yes. And Smith?
Yes. Treasurer's report and list of bills.
We've got what it looks like 6 bills tonight, totaling $4,539. 2 significant ones from Princeton Hydro, and then some lesser dollar value ones. One for Zoom meetings and some small parts for the wheat harvesters. After we approve those expenditures, the cash balance will be $271,487.
2000, I was getting nervous.
And I'll just mention that I did not submit so you don't see my bill on there for this month because I didn't get my invoice in before I left for vacation, so I'll just do it for next month.
You can take care of that.
Yeah.
And now the one for Princeton, that has to do with working on the grant, right? Or not?
The Princeton Hydro ones,
No, one was general consulting,
Yeah.
and the other one was aquatic plant survey, I think.
yeah. But I will mention that Princeton Hydro submitted an invoice today, and it includes some work on the aquafilter units in Crescent Cove as part of the HAB grant. And the commission was working with Princeton Hydro, and they were holding their invoices until we received reimbursement from DEP. But they've requested that we pay the subcontractor for the aquafilter units. And I think,
Subcontract labor money.
yeah, so the total is around $40,000. We could pay a portion of that, whatever the commission feels comfortable doing, just so that they're not out that full amount with the work that they did.
That's for work or physical equipment?
For work that they did, and the job is complete.
The job's complete.
The job is complete. There's no additional
Take a
work.
partial payment. They pay for all those material, they put all the labor.
Right.
Just pay them
What's
whatever.
subcontract contribution of the 40,000?
I thought I had it printed out, but
Well, if it's a match, it's coming out of our funds anyway, so we should pay it,
Yeah,
even if we haven't gotten reimbursed from the grant.
yeah, that should not be ever be, because you got enough cash to carry it.
it's about $47,000.
Okay.
But do you know if that's match money or if that's have reimbursement money?
That would be HAB reimbursement money.
Well, we owe it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
know it's
True.
They
We
did
have
the
to
work.
pay it.
They did the
They
work.
did the work.
Pay them.
There's
Of course,
no
a small
question.
guy, maybe he's a small, because
Right, you can
hurts
afford
his
it.
cash flow. Yeah, you can afford it.
And
Yeah.
still make our bill.
Oh, yeah.
And then just make sure we get the reimbursement.
Yeah, you filed for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to add that? We have a motion to add that to the list of bills? You want to add yours on there too, Colleen, while you're at it?
I can wait.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we add on that payment for the bill list.
Second.
Is there any questions on the addition of that to the bill list?
Need a motion for the full list?
Motion for the full list.
So moved.
Is there a reason, Colin, we don't put yours on now, just so that monthly, we get the same amount?
Yeah.
No, you
Instead
could do
of
that
doubling up.
instead of doubling up next
Yeah,
month, that's
well,
fine.
Oh, all right, change the motion and add Collins. We know what it is anyway.
Yeah, I'm good with the
Same
amendment.
amount.
Yeah.
Actually, because it's a new fiscal year, it is slightly more, but not.
Yeah.
No.
Any comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Hopatcong?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Messier?
Yes.
Will Susan?
Yes.
Frantic? Yeah. And Smith?
Yes.
And who introduced the motion?
I introduced the motion for the full bill
I introduced
Okay.
the motion.
after
Okay,
we made the motion to add those.
all right.
Got any correspondence?
No new correspondence.
All right. Chairman's report. I'll try to get us up to date as we can. We had a special meeting in between and we approved the broker of record for the insurance. We're now in the process of getting the title to the harvesters, trucks, and other miscellaneous equipment barges transferred to us from DEP to the commission. And we're also in the process of getting the employees transferred from DEP to the commission. We're working, Colleen's working with R&L, which is the payroll service, to get the payroll set up so these, when they become our employees, we can get them paid. What else, Colleen, did I miss?
I think that's it, the banking, getting the new
We're
accounts
opening
open.
2 new accounts, we're opening up, yeah. The payroll and for the payroll agency account, that's where all the deductions go. So we have to open those 2 accounts. I can't think of anything else.
What's the timing on that?
I don't know.
It's gonna be
Because we're
whenever
waiting
we
for
can
them
have
to
it,
transfer.
right.
You know, for all intent purposes, most of the harvesting season is gone, but I think, and I guess we all agreed last time, we want to do something just to make a showing and to give it a try. We got to get it to where it's ours and we're getting the stuff going. And
Ours, we have the people.
we have the
working.
people and we have the machines in the water. But you can't do that until we were insured. We're now insured. So
So within a month or so, we should.
we should be cutting weeds in the next, I may be optimistic in the next 2 weeks, we could be in the water. Everybody's ready to go, we just want paperwork.
I think it may take a little bit longer just based on the conversations I'm having with insurance and payroll and trying to get in contact. For instance, the IRS, they need some information from the IRS,
They
and that's
want
hard to get.
the
But
22 number, they want let's set up a meeting, I want an in-person meeting with him, I don't want to be a bureaucrat. It's no big deal to open up a bank account and sit, it's just like opening a bank account. He needs that number. We have that number. All our vendors, the bank made us give him that number when we opened the bank account.
right,
Why does he need any different proof than anybody else does?
right.
Unfortunately, there's not that many people do payroll services so that understand the state pension fund, so we're a little disadvantaged there. Okay. Any commissioners around the table? Brad, you got anything?
No, not right now.
Do you want me to do the Park Service update now
No,
or wait?
no. You're on the agenda for that.
Good.
Bob?
No, except that I know there's a bill coming through that's going to give us some funding
Yeah.
from the state. It's grant money.
When the government,
Waiting for the governor to sign it. Right?
yeah, okay,
Cross our fingers.
yeah.
Nothing. 2 things I had. One was the oil spill in Brights Cove, we'll talk about that. It's on the
Yeah.
agenda. It was in Jefferson Township. I've also been reaching out to the governor's office as a follow-up to our meeting with the governor a little over a month ago about his promise to get us a meeting with the superintendent of state police. I've been following up. They tell me it's forthcoming, so keeping on them about holding their word to getting us a meeting so we can talk about enforcement on the lake, police patrols on the lake. All I got.
Just looks like it's eelgrass season. I saw a lot of skinny, tapey floaters this past weekend. So we go from milfoil in the spring and now eelgrass, and it'd be nice to get rid of some of it.
One question on Fred's note. Says he's meeting with representatives from Roxbury tomorrow. You know who he's meeting with?
I don't, but,
It's not Fred, but we have a couple of engineers going out to,
yeah.
yeah, look at some site assessments. I'm not sure who they're meeting.
Meeting with Rick One.
For what?
I'll be on site too. Yeah.
So you're with President
I'm with, yeah, I'm here for Fred today.
The other thing I had was to meet with the Superintendent of State Police. I saw the article. Our mayor got stuck out on the lake.
No,
And he called every marina, couldn't get anybody to tow him in. And he ended up, that was Mayor DeFilippo. Bob. Yeah. But what he brought up was, he couldn't find anybody that would tow him in. He ended up finally calling the state police, and they came out and told him. But the question when you talk to him was, who is responsible? You know, it makes me worry a little bit more if there's a bigger problem than just a towing. You know, who should we be telling people that they should call as one place? I think he was out there an hour calling every marina saying, do you have something? They said no. Either they didn't answer the phone or they didn't have a boat that would tow them back in. Interesting. And it was Saturday or Sunday. I mean, it wasn't like a 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night or something. We could just find out.
Yeah, okay.
But
I would have told him if I saw him waving.
Barnes.
he called Barnes, said, sound like they don't do it.
Anything?
That's it.
All right. Colleen, you got administrator's update?
Sure. So, as Ron mentioned, I've just been working on getting everything in place for the weed harvesting program. I attended the Mount Arlington Council meeting in August, in early August. At the request of Mayor Stanzillis, I attended the meeting to provide an update on things going on around the lake, what projects we're working on, and what's coming up. And during that meeting, the mayor indicated that they would be appointing an alternate to the commission at one of their upcoming meetings.
Yeah, you know, I meant to mention it. I went to the Lake Hopatcong Foundation Gala, and Mayor introduced me to this woman that he's proposing to be, I guess he's waiting for council action or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I also attended a meeting at Green Pond with Mayor Will Susan and Kyle Richter to look at how they deal with removing aquatic weeds through diver-assisted hand pulling. So that was interesting to see how other lakes deal with their weed issues, and they felt that it could be a good tool for Lake Hopatcong, although maybe not replace our current program, but could support it. So going through and looking at some of the other lakes that they recommended, we just kind of take a look at some larger lakes in Michigan that are using the technology. So.
Yeah, if we had the money, it would be definitely a good investment. But the fact that we gotta just take care of weeds, we just barely have enough money to do weed harvesting. It's kind of hard to look at new technologies, but they had a lot of, a much smaller lake, but they've definitely had some success, and it would definitely be a complement to our weed harvesting program because it pulls all that material out of the lake. It doesn't.
Yeah. And I like that.
It's not a haircut.
Yeah, over time over time the hope is that by hand pulling and basically weeding, you're over time you have to do less. Whereas with our current program, you're always doing, you always have to
Cut the same guy every
And it really wasn't that expensive. The equipment and personnel and everything.
How'd they do it? By hand, right?
They actually have divers go in the water. They have 2 patio boats set up with. You ever see like the show? Where they suck the
gold
gold
rush
up.
thing?
Gold,
Yeah.
yeah, the gold.
Yeah.
They suck up the gold in the big vacuum tubes. Same thing.
Wow.
And they have troughs that it just comes in. They grab it and put it, and it just goes right in the bags. So.
But they have to hand pull it.
Hand pull it.
And then the vacuum pull it.
Yep. Yep.
So
That's the
wouldn't
end of it.
It's really, I mean, they want us to, go look at this a little more closely. I recommend any of the commissioners to go look because it really is
Why
pretty,
don't you
pretty
set
cool.
up a field trip?
Pretty cool technology. Not that it's cool technology, just that it's something viable we should look at if we have the money.
A small culvert might work if it's looking.
Yeah.
So when this thing sucks everything up onto the barge,
Mhm.
it must then
They
return
put it-
something to the
They
lake,
put
right?
the water goes right back in. They have troughs set up. They have 5 stations for bags set up, and they shut a chute when one bag's filled. They shut that chute. It goes to the next chute, and just keep bagging it.
What does the water look like that returns to the lake?
It just-
Is it clear?
Yeah, clear water.
Are they doing it to selectively remove bad actor weeds?
Yeah,
leave
anything.
healthy weeds?
And,
there's
well,
healthy
what
weeds
was-
too.
I'm not going to. I only stayed at the
Ask
holiday.
the
And
scientist.
what type of weeds were they pulling?
Yeah, Eurasian water milfoil, they were pulling.
But any weed they
Invasive,
can
they
pull.
could, yeah. But they leave all the native,
What's the difference between this and hydro raking?
hydro raking doesn't, isn't selective,
Takes
and
all
it's
the weeds, even the good
taking
ones.
some of the sediment as well.
Right.
So it kind of comes, it takes all of it.
Now, is this something that the DEP,
Mechanical.
would the DEP approve of this? Because
Yeah.
from what I understand, Lake Mohawk, or not Mohawk, Musconetcong got a state grant or something to get a hydro rake, and then they got it, and
The
then
hydro
apparently
rake
by
doesn't
regulation,
really.
Yeah,
We do that in Lake
different.
Shawnee. It just picks up some biomass. It takes out a little bit of biomass, but
well,
it's not.
the point is that the DEP apparently approved
Right.
it, paid for it, and then later on said, well, we don't support
Yeah, now
hydro
they don't
raking
support
anymore.
it anymore.
They
Right?
And now they
have
have
another permit if they were changing the
Right.
depth of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they put that up for sale.
Yeah.
So now you have a useless machine.
Yes.
So, Mike,
So,
you
yes,
just
they
need to make sure
approve
the DEP approves.
We got lots of those.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
Ron. That hurt. But this seems like it's more of a permanent solution than just mowing.
Takes
the lawn.
time, right? Takes time. It's not gonna, not overnight. It's a
We got a
meticulous
huge
process,
lake.
but
That's a huge lake.
How
it
do
would
you-
work best in our shallower coves and stuff like that.
And what's the process called?
Diver assisted suction harvesting. They call it a dash boat, DASH, dash boat.
So this is something, if that new funding becomes available.
Yeah, something.
We can
We
look
tried
into
in the
The
cold.
boat with all the setup, I think, was less than $50,000.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's
It's
you're hiring divers, so it's really salary driven more than anything.
Right. Maybe Princeton Hydro can look into that.
Yeah, I'll make it on myself.
Well, they work with them at Green Pond.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are in the
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, I know we work at Greenpond. I don't have any experience with them.
Mhm.
I've never seen it, but.
It's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, you want to get your
I
driver's
just-
license?
I still would want to hope that DEP would approve this. I could just see them finding a way to say no.
Well, I
Like when
think
we
that
tried to remove
DEP
the,
has been working, I think that they've approved it at Green Pond. So.
well, I'd be presently surprised. We tried to get them to remove or approve the removal of the fill from Brady Bridge after the flood of 2000, all this stuff that deposited in the south side. And the stuff we had to go through to get permission to take dirt out of the lake. You had to have all kind of testing done, went round and round and
It's
round.
full of all
Yeah.
kinds of.
Yeah, well, that's, I'm not trying to get in the way. I'm in favor of these new, aggressive, let's try different things. Let's not be relying on one thing. Let's
There's
try
not one
things.
answer to all this.
But
stuff.
we're going to do all this work and then find out the answer is no. That's my concern. I've seen that movie too many times.
Been around for 40 years.
I'm not doubting the technology. I just want to make sure that this DEP's not going to stand in our way after we get our hopes up.
Well, it's good that they approved it in another way.
Yeah.
So there's precedent. And it's not mechanical or chemical.
Right.
So I think there's a good possibility here.
Kyle, you're up.
So along the same lines with everything that's kind of been set up here, we attended the site visit with Colleen and Mayor Will Susan. On August 4th, we did a safety meet and greet at the foundation's headquarters, where we had representatives from all the local police and fire departments, the state park police, New Jersey State Police as well. They had all their trucks and equipment. It was a great opportunity for the community to come out and meet those that are helping protect Lake Hopatcong. As we're still waiting for the governor to sign the Senate 3618 bill that will provide $10 million in funding, but all indications that the foundation has received, there's nothing in the way of that. Also be hosting Representative Cheryl out on the floating classroom next week as well. A great opportunity to get others talking about Lake Hopatcong. The public cruises are still going on our floating classroom. I think we have two or three left. They run through the end of August, so however many Mondays are left in August is how many we have. Our block party is coming up on October 2nd, and then we're working to also get the Lake Loop done. That's our update.
Thank you.
Yep.
Princeton Hydro, you're up.
All right. The report's not together yet, but when we put it together, we're going to compare that data to the data collected in 2018. We conducted the second cyanotoxin sampling event on August 6th. We're putting that report together now, but we have results. So I'll try to summarize this one best I can. So we have 8 stations, and we sample for 3 different cyanotoxins at each station. So we have 2 stations that got a hit for cyanotoxins, and that was anatoxin A. That was a station in River Styx, and then one by the Hopatcong Beach Club. However, those concentrations were below the draft recommended threshold, so they were safe to swim in. Both of those stations, though, did have very high cyanobacteria cell counts, which exceeded 144,000 cells per milliliter, which is pretty high. So that would classify those areas under the advisory, under the NJDEP guidelines. However, these are just used for management since they weren't, sampled with DEP. And cell counts were pretty low throughout the rest of the lake, which is a good sign. We have 2 water quality sampling events scheduled for August. The first one will be tomorrow, which is the standard long-term monitoring, and then a second one at the end of August, which is part of the 319 grant. Some updates on the HABS grant. We still need to schedule another phospholock treatment for Ashley Cove. That should occur sometime this week. We are scheduling to monitor Ashley Cove, Duck Pond, Memorial Pond. Those are all sites that have biochar, and install additional biochar in Ashley Cove and Ingram Cove, hopefully this week. Update on the aeration systems. The Shore Hills air curtain has been operating all summer and has some positive results so far. The other 2 systems, which is the Lake Forest Yacht Club, that one is operating and producing nanobubbles, but it's not producing ozone, so we still need to work on that. And there has been some issues with the Mount Arlington Memorial Beach one, which was installed a few weeks ago. Again, they're hoping to address those issues this week. And then finally, with the HABS grant, we need to review with the Commission our approach with the floating wetland islands. I know Fred's been in touch with you about that. He proposed maybe getting a new one.
Yeah, one of the old wetland islands that was, I forget when that was installed, but it's been occupied by swans. So rather than scoot the swans, they're proposing just ordering a new island. So
Yeah,
he's
the swans are there all the time.
Yeah, Fred's gonna put together a cost for just ordering a new one.
It's pretty, besides the swans, it's pretty beat. I went in there recently to check it out. It's pretty almost deteriorating. So, and the new ones are much better quality.
Trash in that.
What's up?
Swans are trash in it.
Yeah.
Well, it did float over to Liffey Island and then got dragged back. And then
Our swans are good, though, right?
Yeah.
That's it with the HABS grant. Some updates on the existing 319 grant. We have been conducting monthly supplemental in-lake monitoring. That's part of the 319 grant. That's going to That's giving data towards the internal load analysis. The post-processing of the bathymetric data is complete, so we're in the process of merging the 2015 Cove and Bay bathymetric data, and we'll have an updated full lake bathymetric map for the September meeting. And we have also initiated the modeling efforts to quantify the lake's internal phosphorus load on a monthly and seasonal basis. Right now, for the New Jersey Highlands Council grant for the Memorial Park and Beach Restoration Plan in Mount Arlington, the draft document will be submitted in September for review. A separate Highland Council grant for Roxbury, which is the Musconetcong River Stabilization and Habitat Enhancement Project. The contract will be submitted to the township, and work will be initiated within the next week or two. For the stormwater and green infrastructure document, we've been working on it and are including some information on potential ecological impacts, in addition to potential economic and or recreational impacts. And we heard back from one of the scientists, the engineers working on that today, that they've been making good progress on that.
What's our ETA?
I don't have that right now, but we'll get back to you on that.
And we talked with Fred about giving us a draft.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely send a draft.
For the land use committee.
Okay. And finally, we mentioned this before, but we'll have an engineer and a scientist at the lake tomorrow with representatives from Roxbury and the Borough of Hopatcong to conduct site assessment of some potential locations for the new 319 grant funding. And this will also include a site visit to the Ingram Cove drainage area.
That'll address the questions of the individuals who were here last month asking about Ingram Cove.
Yeah,
So that'll be-
yeah, apparently that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and I've been. I think we went there with Donna, and it is erosion's pretty bad down there in that stormwater outlet. So.
Good. All right, thank you.
I have 2 questions, if it's
Sure.
okay. With respect to item 3 on your report, the water sampling events, last meeting I mentioned to Dr. Lubnow the issue with holdover trout. We're seeing some holdover trout, signs of holdover trout. So are we going to do more intense monitoring of the main lake in terms of stratification, oxygen levels, the issue of trout habitat? That's the first question. And the second question, it's kind of a long-term question. What do we think about an aeration system? I know we're doing all these air curtains for coves and things like that, but what about an aeration system for the main lake and its effect on helping trout habitat?
Okay, so the first one, we have been with these supplemental water quality events. We have 5 stations for those events, but we were sampling at 1 foot increments rather than 1 meter increments around the thermocline to, really pinpoint the temperature and DO relationship for trout habitat. So we're going to continue to do that.
Excuse me, that was,
No,
that's my request. Okay, we'll talk about it when I can't go.
And then as far as aeration, that's something I think, without looking into it further, take a lot to aerate the whole lake.
Well, just the main lake, the sections where we would expect to find, where your data might show that holdover trout might exist, just to kind of help that along a little bit.
Yeah, well, aeration, aerating it would help with the low DO areas.
But it might change the temperature.
Yeah. There's a lot more to it than just the DO.
change the water temperature.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm looking at, is the benefits and detriments of doing this, just to improve trout holdover.
Culver's Lake.
There's different ways of it. There's full lake mixing, which would, raise the temperatures at the bottom, which would not really work for trout habitat. And then you could do
Yeah, no, right.
deep water oxygenation, but that's much more expensive, I think. And yeah, I'll bring that back to Fred and see what he has to say about that.
I will just also say that I think the bathymetric survey will, maybe not for trout habitat specifically, but it will help with understanding what technologies we should be investigating to help with reducing HABs in the lake. So it may turn out that it's aeration, and that would help the trout as well.
Okay, because I'm just interested, because we're seeing a holdover trout, which is noteworthy, and that's a good sign. So the better we understand that, because they're like an indicator species.
Right.
So that's important. The other question, number 4C, with respect to the nearshore aeration projects, you mentioned that the one is not, Interpretation is not producing ozone. What exactly are the benefits of if it's producing ozone, and why is it not? Or do you have any theories behind that?
No, I haven't worked with that one at all. I don't even, I don't know what the exact issue is. But the ozone is just a more, I guess, effective way of spreading out the aeration. It's a newer technology, so I don't know that much about it.
I was just trying to understand it, because this is the first time reading it. So.
Yeah, it was one of those. So the aeration, there was 3 different aeration systems, newer aeration systems, like newer technology installed. The ozone is a newer technology.
Okay, so at the end of this, we're going to be examining all these different systems and looking for the benefits and detriments of each to find the best match.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
hopefully
we're
replicate
collecting data with it, and we're taking plankton samples
Okay.
and nutrient data inside and outside of each aeration zone to get like control and treatment.
Okay.
And just going back, the drought stuff with the 319 grant and the internal load analysis and the bathymetric survey, that report is going to have some info about trout habitat in it. And is also, I think, going to address, the internal load and aeration and what would work best. That will be coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other commission member have any questions? Okay, we're ready for the update to State Park. You're up.
The sewer has been hooked up, so we are now on sewer. The generator for the sewer system is still being installed as we speak, and they're still working on the new bathhouse building. Back on August 6th, the minimum flow had dropped below 12, so we had opened one gate, and it's still open. The lake level is hovering right around 9 feet, and that's all I got.
Okay. What about the DEP? Tony, what are we doing about construction here for that?
Well, in terms of Weldon,
Mm-hmm.
I think we can just say they requested some additional information, which we're working on providing, and that's where that is for now. And I haven't heard anything new about the CAC meeting. Josh requested that I remove the MOU last meeting, and I didn't get that off of the agenda, so there's nothing new on that.
We're also working an MOU. They've agreed to it for the garage.
Yeah.
Franklin,
Okay.
building in Franklin. So that,
The garage,
that's
it's
in the mix.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Otherwise, we're going to put
Anybody-
them in your
yeah.
yard. We're going to put them
Yeah.
in your yard.
Good luck. If anybody's been there, they'll understand why it's important.
Okay. And of course, we don't know anything about the CAC, but that's Josh. Sorry.
Mhm.
What have we got on grant updates? You just
Yeah, I think he provided a good overview of each of the grants. We did receive notification that our grant agreement has been completed for 319. So I think Michelle Lubnow, who works for Princeton Hydro, is working on, figuring out the next steps with that. And then, the HAB grant, Pat gave a good overview.
Okay. All right. Committee updates.
Land Use Committee, I've only been out of commission for a month, so I'm back, and we haven't had a meeting.
Welcome back.
Thank you. And we're waiting for the report from Princeton Hydro, and I think we should schedule a meeting before the next meeting. The review process for the applications have been going along. Was there anything of note in the application reviews?
Nothing really. There was an application for a restaurant in Hopatcong that had some high impervious coverage that was pre-existing. So there really wasn't much we could do there. But other than that, it's been.
And we were waiting for Eric to give us something ordinance.
I think that he's waiting for the Princeton Hydro report, and then we'll work from that to.
Oh, Ken was gonna work on the reviews,
Mhm.
be able to get the applications earlier.
Right,
So we haven't heard from him, so
yeah. I
we'll
need to-
follow up at the next land use meeting.
Okay.
That's all.
Budget Commissioner Steinbaum is absent, so
Finance and audit, nothing new to report at this time.
bylaws brought up.
In a memo, the concept of a bylaw that would allow an alternate to chair a committee, and then I've been away. So I don't know what happened to that. Did we do any work on that at all? Or what do we have to do to bring that up to a vote?
Just amend the bylaw to say that alternates could also serve as a chairman.
We have to vote on that.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it was passed at last meeting.
Yeah, it was.
Was it passed?
I just thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so that we can add that. Thank you.
Hey, we had a plan committee meeting last week, and unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, you're obviously be an integral part of that, but in your absence, we discussed generally, broadly speaking, the direction of the commission. In other words, going forward, the issue of employees, weed harvesting, some of these other issues that I mentioned tonight, like aeration systems, and it's going to be a matter of how best to spend our money, our resources. So the weed harvesting part of it's going to be a big part of what we're looking at, and also it's this S3618, which I think we said we had to get a copy of that. We wanted to go over it, and if I understand it correctly, I have not seen the bill, but as I understand it, it's like a one-time grant. It's not like an
The
annual.
$10 million?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's not going to be in the budget, but they're trying to, our legislators are trying to get it to put us a line item in the budget.
yes,
So
that
it's there, more money would be there every year.
yes. So
But they're working on that. And they have been working on it.
So we'd like to have another meeting in the near future so we can get a handle on this and look at the other issues. Obviously, our 11th statutory duties. We're always looking at that as kind of the hub of what the committee's
We'll get a
about.
better handle on the weed thing once we get going and see how it.
Yeah, it's. I think it's important to do some harvesting this year. It's like a shakedown
It is,
thing because
absolutely,
it's.
absolutely.
If anything, it'll benefit us next spring when we get up and running.
You'll learn something
Yeah.
maybe to do or not to do.
Yeah, because it's been since 2012 since this
Yeah.
body has actually been engaged in weed harvesting.
And you could identify some problems with the equipment.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And it's been probably almost 16 years at least, maybe more, since we were last running as we should. After that, until it withered on the vine, it was a couple of $100,000 here, a couple $100,000 there. Put a shoestring operation out in the lake until
I know.
it
Hopefully we're
Past
back on
that.
the road. We'll see.
yes.
Okay, public outreach. Chair, Commissioner Fobbs is not here. What else we got?
Nice report.
Yes.
So we had a meeting at my office in person. Commissioner Stevens, Commissioner Hopatcong attended, and we had various versions of the flyer, and we marked them up. I think we had some agreed upon changes, and I believe the original document was taken by Commissioner Stevens to Colleen. I don't know where it went after that, but hopefully we'll have something that the commission can look at as a representation of what we'd like to send out, whether it be a lake-wide mailing to lakefront residents. We'd like to get this issue talked up before winter. So how do we look? What do you think of the markups?
Yeah, I honestly have not had time to go over them since I was away last weekend. But I will get started on those as soon as I can.
Can we give something away at the block party?
That's our hope,
Yeah.
to have something ready. And
Yeah,
I think
something
it-
pretty.
At least we would
I
have.
think you did it last time.
yeah, the cards we had up and
Yeah.
running. But there was another, Lakes of Sunapee or Lakes out the lake, where we're borrowing
New
a lot of
Hampshire,
what they have, and we're going to integrate some of what we have. But we did mark up their flyer
Mhm.
to more fit the needs of Lake Hopatcong.
Maybe we should identify a target date when we want the draft of the flyer done and when we want it mailed out. So
It's
it doesn't
October
slip
2nd.
through the
2nd
cracks
is the
and
deadline, so
all of a sudden it's January and we haven't got it done.
So when she looks at it, then maybe we'll schedule a meeting where she could tell us her findings and we maybe get us an idea of costs. And, there's issues with, I guess, envelopes and mailing and folding. You were talking about that, Commissioner Hopatcong. So
Nightmare.
all those things have to be taken into consideration.
Some of that printing is already, all you do is put the address on the other side. There is no envelope.
Yeah.
You just run it through
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Then otherwise you don't have to buy the envelopes and spend all that time stuffing them.
This is a trifold thing?
Yeah, drop them. Yeah, drop
And they
them.
put
Same.
that, and they
Yeah.
put that sticker on it. I mean, we use that all
Yeah.
the time, right?
No, we want to keep it simple, so.
Yeah,
get
we
it
use
out.
them in the campaign.
Yeah.
I didn't stuff anything.
I mean, our original postcard is actually very good. It gets us most of the way there, but there's some tweaking and some additions which I think would be beneficial. At least that's.
I'm thinking that for the block party, we may end up using the postcard, and then we can do the mailers right before people leave.
Okay, so the last is the ad hoc reorganization meeting, which I think at this point I can disband because we went through the thing as to how we were going to get the insurance and get the employees and get the boats, and it's all done. And I thank everybody for the work. With a lot of tension, everything was in a hurry, but we all came through, and hopefully we've got the people. We know identifying the pieces and then trying to find somebody to take care of those pieces. I think we're there already, so we'll see what happens. So I think we can just disband that ad hoc committee.
Okay.
Well, congratulations on a job well done because you had your hands full. 0 to 60 in 3
I had
seconds.
a lot of good help. I had a lot of good guys helping. Well, it was great. Okay, new items. Oil spill in Brights Cove.
Can we do that one?
Sure. It's your code.
That's my code, yeah. So I got a phone call last Monday on the 9th from some business owners said they were smelling diesel smell over in the Brights Cove area, Lake Winona area. Went over there that night. My health officer happened to be in the area. She came out, did a little preliminary investigation around the area, looked at some of the storm drains and such, didn't find anything. You could definitely see the sheen on Brights Cove, and you could definitely smell, diesel. It wasn't overpowering, but it was definitely there.
Was it diesel?
We didn't know where it was.
Home feeding.
It turned out to be home heating oil, but nobody knew where it was coming from. So it was obviously coming from somewhere within Brights Cove because it was actually getting out under the bridge to some of the marinas on the other side on the main lake.
Flash Marina over there.
So the next morning, an alert resident noticed a waste oil truck in front of somebody's house, which is usually a good sign that somebody's got a leak. And sure enough, that's where it was coming from. So DEP was notified. They came out immediately. They estimated only about 25 to 30 gallons was released. The tank was actually in the basement of the home, and there was a pump of some type that was discharging it out onto the front lawn. So they had a remediation company there on site the next day. They were cleaning up soils and things of that nature. So DEP's got it all covered as far as the cleanup is concerned. So we originally thought it could be up to 500 gallons, but it turned out to be, they estimated between 25 and 30. So, but I haven't gotten any updates since end of last week as to where the remediation was coming. But I called Colleen right away. She was in Maine, took my call, my text, whatever. So made sure she was aware of it.
Thank you.
And the destiny of that, it just stays in the lake, that 25
It'll burn
gallons?
off, they say. It'll just, and they're,
Evaporate? Or?
yeah, mostly evaporate, they said. So I don't think they expect to do any cleanup along the shoreline. At least that was the indication I got, that they weren't going to be doing any other.
But
They
DEP was notified.
They were there. They were on site. Yeah.
DEP was there. So
And they didn't set up
it's in
any
their
booms
hands.
or anything,
Right.
so, but absorbents, anything, they didn't put anything out.
Okay. Time to open the meeting to the public. Anyone wishing to be heard, your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, get my plans here. Wait to pack on. With the constraints of the 3 minutes, what I'm going to ask, I sent everybody a letter. I hope you read it. I hope you understood it. These recent trout catches are really important. I've been monitoring the Lake Hopatcong trout situation for 30 years, not just observationally. I've had the opportunity to talk to nationally recognized experts about it. And what I'm going to say is we haven't been stocking the lake correctly since 1983. And what I'm going to propose, because I'm limited on time here, I'm not going to try to speed through all the important data I would like the commission to be aware of, is for you to form an ad hoc committee that I'd like to be a part of. I would hope Dr. Love now and I'm looking at Dan McCarthy because he has a lot of history with the lake and the fishery, so that I can share the information I have, the importance of it, and possibly an action plan. But there's no urgency because I would like to see the August, September EO temperature profiles to see if they're in sync. And one thing I do want to say, Pat, I asked you to understand, I made a recommendation that Dr. Love now, which he incorporated at least one part, the 1 foot increments, is what I asked when you find no-go areas for trout, to check it more granularly because these experts, Dr. Bakey and Dick Rose, said sometimes it's just a 2 foot band, and when you drop off precipitously from 7 mg oxygen to 3, that there could just be a narrow band of viable trout habitat. These fish that are caught were very robust hardy fish. I haven't seen it in those numbers in mid-June since early 2000. There was an anomaly. What's important, and let me just get this one thing in before you cut me off in the 3 minutes. We stocked 10,000 trout last year between Knee Club and the state. Only 400 were brown trout. So we have 4% of the fish stock the year prior, no Knee Club fish because of COVID. So there's only 400 trout in the lake that are brown trout, 4% of the fish stock, but 75% of the fish caught were brown trout. That's just a number that should be screaming out. Maybe only brown trout should be stocked in the science that I want to share with the commission. Can't here, I would ask you to form a committee and discuss it. There's no urgency, because I said I would like to see September's EO profiles and look at the importance of this, because one thing people miss, the state only stocks fish, they say 10.5 inches. All fishermen lie, they lie more. They're not 10 inches. And they can't withstand the thermal stress that occurs here. I have science from Oxford University. I gave a copy to Colleen and a copy to Pat to share with Princeton Hydro. It's plain and simple. If you stock larger fish, they have the wherewithal, the body mass, energy reserves to withstand this 4 to 6 week stressful period. It's all science. It's not guessing, but we can prove it too. So I would like the commission entertain a small ad hoc committee trying to participate.
I'm all for it, because as I say, I think the trout or the canaries in the coal mine, and they tell us a lot about what's going on.
One thing Pat might be able to answer, I asked Fred, he's been busy, is it still part of a criteria for certain grants that you want brown trout habitat in your lake, and that gives you more qualifications in the grant world? Because
I'm not sure.
Because I'm going all the way back to Steve Souza.
Well, we can find that out. All right. So
I think for,
I'll
Yeah, anybody who wants to join and be a part of this committee, I
put
think
him
it's,
on it.
well, I mean, in terms of commission members.
Yeah. Everybody else?
Any fishermen here?
Yeah.
I would like
Been on the lake my whole life.
How about, do you fish?
I don't.
Okay.
Only lived on one my whole life.
maybe it's something,
Yes, Fred.
any DEP people who might like to be involved,
Fred Steinbaum? I don't know, does he fish?
you know.
Yeah, it's Fred. You and Fred, what do you
All right.
think? What do you think?
When I read
We'll
this,
volunteer Fred, because he's not here.
Okay,
Dr.
good
Steinbaum.
idea.
Dr. Steinbaum.
He's not here.
Dan, I'll
It's like the
email
Army.
you
You get
the
volunteered,
information.
you get
Okay.
volunteered.
People with
You.
PhDs, I would have to read paragraphs 3 or 4 times. Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Okay.
This is heavy duty science. It's from Oxford University.
So is you
And it's
and Fred
profound,
have
and
enough?
we see an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
As long as Dr. Steinbaum agrees.
I would like Dr.
The
three of you.
Pat or somebody
Yeah.
else, who had a little
Yeah.
schedule, obviously,
Yeah.
on their
Yeah.
availability,
Yeah.
because we're local, they
Yes.
take care of that. They're gonna be here. We can-
Perfect.
Well, if we could do it by Zoom.
Yes, yeah.
they would
Yeah,
have to.
you'd have to, Colleen put me in charge of that again. I did okay last time.
Okay.
I surprised myself.
It's not so
Okay, thank you for your input. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
John Kurzman, I'm going to have something to back on. I'm concerned about something that I mentioned last meeting. I'm going to remind you of Lake Hopatcong Commission had a meeting in 2011 where a lot of people came to the meeting all battling about something. And as Commissioner Beyer mentioned back then, there were 2 conflicting mandates that needed to be resolved. There was the fact that there's a state law that says Lake Hopatcong needed the normal high water natural elements permitting. And there's a conflicting mandate that there was a 1922 court order that required that there be a fountain to release 12 CFS. Then later on, there was a meeting in 2015, which rehashed the 2011 meeting as well, where it talked about the Citizens Advisory Committee, which had representatives from each of the 4 towns, the Lake Hopatcong Alliance, the Commission, Musconetcong Regional Planning Board, and the Watershed Association, where they again talked about these 2 conflicting mandates, that the lake should be at the high level, and that there's a Musconetcong Millers Association directed a fountain be constructed to pass 12 CFS downstream at all times. And the goal of the lake management plan that was then developed was to protect the environmental health and the natural and scenic resources of Lake Hopatcong and the river system. So a balance was developed. And that balance has been in effect, and there's discussions about the differences in the plan over time. So I get very nervous where I now read that not only is the fountain being resurrected, it's been off for the last 30 years or so, but people are now saying the role of the fountain in measuring the flow of water of the Musconetcong River appears to have been forgotten. One must wonder if much of the discord about the amount of water being allowed to flow out of Lake Hopatcong in recent years may have been avoided if the fountain if it could continue to be used for the purpose for which it was built. However, I, as a lake lover, might instead argue, one might believe that if one followed the statute that the legislator put in place that said the lake should be kept at the high water mark, that we wouldn't have discord either. So I am very concerned that they're going to turn this fountain back on. And the reason also is, if you look at the plan from 2015 and 2011, there's a very important point in that. And it says that when the lake is already providing 12 CFS because the lake is over the spillway, they close the gates. And of course, the fountain is off whenever the gates are off, but they close it. So my concern is that there will be a push once this fountain is operable to say, well, there's plenty of water in the lake. Why isn't it on? Now, the history also is that the fountain was off in the summer months because people were swimming in it. But you have to realize that there's a lot of clout downstream. And if you look at the minutes from that January meeting, the Musconetcong Watershed Association reminded us that they discussed how 18 municipalities, the Musconetcong River Management Council, the Musconetcong Regional Planning Board, National Park Service, Heritage Conservancy, Sierra Club, Trout Unlimited, New Jersey Audubon, Hackettstown Municipal Authority, MSA, Hunterdon and Warren counties, freeholders, and 100 individuals have passed resolutions or sent letters to the DEP commissioner expressing concern that the plan does not fully address the impact of reduced flow. And you know what happened from that? They took away our drought protection. So if you think we have control over what happens to that fountain when it starts working, we don't. So when that thing it's working again, I am very afraid that everyone in this room is going to wonder why they don't have holdover trout, why the lake starts dropping, because right now we compensate for the fact, because we lost our drought protection after this happened, they took it out. We're not going to have control. And we're going to learn 3 inches. I'm sorry, we're going to lose a lot of water. And so we need to really be cognizant of this. And I'm somewhat guilty of this because I, for instance, in my presentation that I did to the DEP and everyone else, I actually recommended also that the fountain be turned on. But I did it in conjunction with raising the dam 3 inches, which if you actually look at the 1925 document by the engineer who designed the fountain, he also recommended putting boards on the top of the dam during the summer months to allow you to raise the dam. He said 6 inches, I'm only going for 3. We have to do something. You can't sit idly by and let this fountain be fixed, because if it gets fixed and is not run like a circulator pump like every other fountain in the world, we are going to lose the water in the lake. We're going to lower the water down into the weeds, and you're going to have a fortune you have to spend on harvesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a couple of comments. First off, the idea of adding 3 inches to the top of the dam right now when we have these wake boats going up and down the lake and a huge wash that comes up on the shore, add 3 more inches, it's going to be 10 times worse. That's
I
the
didn't
first
say
thing.
raise the water. Only control how much is in there. So
You're going to raise
slower.
it 3 inches. That's the
9
first thing.
1/4.
Don't get it at the debate.
Right.
Good, at 9 1/4, not 9. No,
All right.
in other words, to slow down the outflow.
Okay. All
And
right.
that's the thing. I believe this is being done because there's people concerned about the wake boats. And at the Boating Regulations Commission, someone told me
There's still
the
another
Lake
guy.
Hopatcong station person said he's trying to get the lake lower.
He's not Mr. Clancy.
And that's
he's
another
Mr.
reason I'm very concerned. Someone said they're trying to get the lake lower.
Chairman.
I'm sorry. All
So we
right,
should be concerned. There's people out there trying to get the lake lower because they're worried about wake flows. You just said it.
thank you.
No, I don't,
No, I didn't say lower.
But
yeah, because they're concerned.
Continue on.
Okay, anyone else? Close the public portion, okay. Any action items?
no, none for tonight.
Okay, we don't need an executive session for anything. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.